We're smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome to Freshly Pressed. It is time to get into the newspapers this morning and see what the headlines are saying, and then get the analysts to help us break down the headlines, and then invite you, specially also, as you would be able to get your say on the headlines this morning if you send it across to 0809 444 0981. That would be onto our WhatsApp platform. Once again, 0809 444 0981. You can catch a live stream of this section also. If you find it out, you can just go over to YouTube, youtube.com/ smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can also tweet at smooth, no, you can X at smooth 981 FM Lagos. Just give us a follow on all social media platforms. That's it. I say good morning to Mr. C.
Good morning, Damas. Good morning, Lagos. And good morning to all our virtual listeners.
Well, I just want to say Happy Democracy Day. Is it past now? Just a bit less than 24 hours, but again, Happy Democracy Day, Mr. C.
Okay. I'm not sure what we're celebrating, but yes, okay. Happy Democracy Day.
All
In
right, so
areas.
that was yesterday, but then, it's a flow, an overflow that's just transferred to this morning. But let's get on to the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper is where we begin from, and the headline here screams, Labour rejects President Tinubu's claims of agreement on minimum wage. And that's coming from the Vanguard newspaper, and questions arising already. So, the president's broadcast yesterday also referred to the need to send something to the National Assembly to make it an act already and then to be signed. And here we are with this rejection right now. Were they asleep when this happened?
Okay. Thank you, Damas. This is a very, very interesting question. So let's go back a few steps. About a week or two ago, no, I think it was last week or no, in the last 10 days, representatives of organized labor met with representatives of the organized private sector and the federal government. And at the end of a particular meeting, a two-page document was signed. Now, in that document, it was clearly stated that the government had agreed to pay a sum greater, or the president had agreed to pay a sum greater than 60,000 naira. Lo and behold, we saw the signatures of the NLC president and the TUC president, along, I think, with this secretary to the federation and one other's signature. I can't remember the person's name. Then, fast forward to yesterday, the president addressed the nation as part of the Democracy Day, and he did say that negotiations between organized labor and the federal government and the organized private sector had been concluded, and a bill will be sent to the National Assembly containing the new amount. Less than 24 hours later, we then hear organized labor saying that no, we've reached no such agreement. We're not aware of any such agreement, that we still stand on 250,000, that the last proposal from the government was 62,000 naira. And they're saying that they're suggesting or clearly indicating that the president has been misadvised by his advisors and that he should get the correct picture and state of things. Now, having said that, Messrs. Ajero and Osifo, when you appended your signatures to that particular document, what did you think the implications would be? A very nebulous and ambiguous phrase was put in that document saying the government had agreed to pay a sum greater than 60,000 naira. That sum or figure was not stated either in words or in figures. Now you signed, meaning you were okay with whatever they decided to come with because you were probably led to believe that whatever would be proposed by the government would be substantial in your eyes. Now, lo and behold, you now suspect that that may not be the case. Now, two things, or it's a number of things. One, why did you go into negotiations when it is highly doubtful any of you is a trained negotiator? Why did you not engage professional negotiators? This is what they've been trained to do. This is what they've been trained to do. Now you signed away your best, your strong point, and then you now want to cry wolf. I'm not sure how that is going to work. Now, this Labour is also saying they are not aware the period is 5 years. How can you be unaware? The Minimum Wage Act was enacted in 2019. That was 5 years ago. Labour, do you not have a department that tracks and monitors legislation as it pertains to Labour?
Well, right now, Mr. C, from what they've said, it appears that, and there's been warnings also now that any attempt or even go by what was done the other time to shut down the economy, like the authorities are saying, would not be tolerated this time around. From the statement now, we've gotten an agreement. This is about moving on.
Okay, so no, okay, so let's try and balance it out. Yes, Labour has been very short-sighted, they've been very myopic. However, okay, government that insists an agreement has been reached, tell us what the figure is. Because Labour says they don't know, which is fantastic. Okay, since Labour doesn't know, and we didn't hear this news of an agreement from Labour, the person announcing the new position should be confident and bold enough to tell Nigerians what the new amount is. So they haven't said that. Now we're now in the we're now in the realm of issuing threats. And this is funny because just yesterday he was talking about how people in the past had given up blood, sweat, and even their lives to protect democracy, and that he would do anything and everything to have the backs of Nigerians. Now, to have the backs of Nigerians, are you saying you will not allow peaceful protests?
Now, within the confines, anyway, we wait for how the days ahead would pan out and how Labour would eventually react in the days coming. But let's go on to the Nation newspaper, where the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, is urging resident doctors to resist the Japa syndrome. More like saying, just be patriotic to motherland Nigeria. Let's serve this country and deliver healthcare.
Okay, thank you, Amas. Now, reading the headline, I thought this is incredibly ludicrous, right? Mr. Vice President, whether you agree or you disagree, you're arguably living your best life in the eyes of a majority of Nigerians. You are the Vice President. Just the other day, your 21 billion naira current resident was commissioned. You've been a senator. You've been a governor. So you arguably live the best of your life. Now you have Nigerian doctors, young and old, who have the chance to live better lives. And you say, don't go, stay in Nigeria. Stay in Nigeria to do what precisely? He says that the president, I want to quote him directly. He lauded the sacrifices of Nigerian doctors and encouraged them to stay back and salvage this nation together. He then goes on to say that he told them in confidence that the president empathized with medical doctors who stayed back despite juicy offers abroad. And he's implored them not to remain steadfast, resist the temptation of offering their services in foreign lands. And that in the president, they have an ally who will stand by them at all times. Now, all of these are just statements and declarations. I'm sorry, the president is empathetic towards you. That is fantastic. When you need to go to the market and buy the food you will eat, what is the value of that empathy to the seller? When you need to pay the school fees of your children, what is the value of that empathy? How does that empathy help you pay? Now, yes, the president has your back. People have key life-changing decisions to make. If I have an offer here as a doctor to collect 200,000 naira a month to provide my medical skills and my medical expertise, and then I have a corresponding offer from a foreign land that will pay me what, say, £7,000 or $7,000 a year. Why am I expected to sacrifice? Are the politicians, is the political class making the same corresponding sacrifice? Certainly not.
So, in other words, it will sound like, will the politicians be willing to take Medicare back home here in Nigeria if they want the doctors to also stay back home here in Nigeria?
So I was getting to that. We hear the VP saying, you guys stay back. But whenever they have a cough or a slight itch, they're out of the country. So who are they staying back to look after? Because the political class do not believe in them. So I think it's very convenient for a statement to be attributed to the presidency, because whether we like it or not, the vice president is part of the presidency. Now, there was no commitment to improving conditions of work there was no commitment towards ensuring that the hospital, that with regards to power, with regards to supply of medical facilities, including equipment, that will be improved. All is stay and suffer. That's what I interpret the statement as.
So wasn't it in this same country at some point in time we had a minister resign a federal appointment to go take up an appointment somewhere else? What greater height can it be than serving your nation than to go take up appointment elsewhere internationally?
So, Amas, in an ideal world, right, the highest honor is to serve your fatherland.
And that was a medical doctor. I'm just that it was
Yes,
a certified medical doctor.
yes, but that is where your fatherland also appreciates what it is you are doing. But in a country like Nigeria presently, if you have the opportunity to leave this country and make a much better and improve your life and the lives of the generations following you dramatically, I will be extremely shocked that you remain here.
Moving on to our next your punchline this morning, Mr. C. Anyway, let's go on to let you know you can be part of this conversation reacting to the stories this morning, the newspaper headlines from Freshly Pressed on 0809 4440981 as WhatsApp message. You can also get a live stream also on youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. I see a couple messages building already. So let's just drift along and test the waters a bit now. So Damilola from Lagos Island to Mr. C. Federal government is already at 97,000 naira, 62,000 naira minimum wage offer, and the existing wage award of 35,000 naira that has been paid to all federal civil servants and some state civil servants for 8 months now and has been extended indefinitely. This is sufficient for now, and Labour should end this back and forth. That's what Damilola has to say. Then Aderemi comes in with a simple protest does not include shutting down the national grid. That's sabotage. So you should know where the hands, once it goes beyond the elbow, you wouldn't say that's a handshake any longer. That's Aderemi's thought. Adeniran sending that one in. Abbas comes up along the line saying, Abbas Oladipo says, if forcefully shutting down the national grid, stopping airlines from working and flogging people who went to their offices is peaceful protest, then let all of us continue to support oppression in our own way, because it's all about what we believe.
So sorry. I'm going to say this now. I think it's extremely irresponsible to listen to statements like this. I never said that I never equated sabotage to peaceful protest. So people are conflating what I said with what I did not say. I merely stopped a peaceful protest. I never supported the closure of any airport or the shutting down of the national grid. I never said it on air, and I'm not going to say it now. So I think it's extremely irresponsible and silly of people to misconstrue my statements and suggest that is what I stand for.
Now comes in Olalekon message. Olalekon says, well, Mr. C, my younger brother, okay, my younger brother is a medical doctor. He paid 3,000 naira as the highest school fees at somewhere Uniloring. I have consistently told him Japa is unpatriotic. Medical education is very expensive globally, but super cheap on Nigeria. Yet our doctors wants to sell a skill they acquired for free for 25,000 US dollars monthly. Remove free education and allow them pay the cost and sell the skill in the moon. Olalekon's thoughts here.
I'm sorry. People should behave themselves this morning, please. No. So
No,
wait, no. I'm going to say this very quickly. Did they pay what they were charged? Yes. Did they underpay? No, because that is what you ask them to pay. So if you want them to pay more, fine. But do not say that when they have paid what they were asked to pay, they've gone through the pains of studying for those courses, reading and passing those courses, that they cannot determine at what price they will offer their services to. That is wrong.
All right, Mr. C, moving on now to the Punch newspaper this morning. Federal government, World Bank begins talk on 90,000 kilometer fiber optic cable project. Speak to us on how this eventually would determine internet penetration and affordability also.
Okay, thank you, Mas. Now, this is very good and sharing news, and this is coming from one of the few bright lights, in my opinion, of the present cabinet, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. So Nigeria's current broadband network is about 30,000, 35,000 kilometers of fiber optic cables. Now, the minister is proposing to increase it to 125,000 by constructing a fresh 90,000 kilometer fiber optic cable project around the country. Now, this is brilliant news, and he's talking to the World Bank about it because it is clear that if it's left with the federal government, it may start but never be completed. Now, why do we need a fiber optic cable project in this country? We need it because we need more businesses, more hospitals, more government ministries, departments, and agencies to be interconnected. In fact, a World Bank study has shown that an increase in broadband connectivity has a corresponding effect on GDP, which means that GDP more often than not increases as broadband connectivity increases. Now, this will also help to reduce our non-consumption habits. Now, businesses will get better. And let's even look at healthcare, for example. There are lots of doctors online who have the ability, the competence, and the time to attend to patients. As we incorporate this, people in the rural areas would not need to travel miles just to see a doctor. From the comfort of their locations, they can use telemedicine and get a quick diagnosis or a quick interview with a doctor. Let's look at education, especially in places in northern Nigeria where it's unsafe to go to school. In the comfort and safety of their present locations, they can still attend classes, have access to the best educational curricula, and teachers who will help them in every discipline or course they're studying. Let's take this to business. We'll reduce the number of hours spent in traffic if people can talk to themselves virtually. And the benefits go on and on. So this is something I truly support. And if we can get this out of the way, no surprises, 4 or 5 years down the line after it's been implemented, Nigeria will be the top economy in Africa by a country mile.
Yeah, that's about you touched on that point because I see that also in the story. It would put us right behind South Africa, Egypt, and South Africa in terms of internet penetration
Yeah,
there.
but in terms of internet penetration, yes. But however, because of the population size, so the numbers will make up for the deficit in the size of the network. Because if more Nigerians are on, the benefits will be there for everyone to see. So this is something the present administration should quickly grab so that at the end of the day, when we're listing out what it is they've done and achieved, we'll be happy to say this is one of them.
I see. Well, 125,000 kilometers, but presently still staying at 35,000 kilometers. It's a long way to go now to get us to that destination. But let's get on to a next paper where we'll find the Punch newspaper here, 80 billion naira fraud. EFCC accuses colleagues, others of shielding Yahaya Bello, the former governor. So where are we still on this matter?
That's a very good question, and it's only the EFCC that can properly answer this question. At some point in time, they were ready to move the heavens and the earth just to ensure that he was captured. Then I think for in the past 5 to 6 weeks, it's been awfully and eerily quiet. Now, the EFCC acting zonal director for the Benin Zonal Command was saying this when he visited the Delta State Council of Nigerian Union of Journalists, and he was asked where's Nigeria and Yahya Bello? What exactly is going on? And then he seemed upset or he sounded upset and accused governors past and present of shielding him. Now, this is a real mystery, right? Because we do recall he was supposedly located to a house in Abuja. They barricaded that street and the gate. Media reports showed the governor of Kogi State enter that compound and left. Media reports suggest, even though no one has come out to say categorically, that they saw Yahya Bello in his car. Now, contrast that with other media reports where we hear that the seeming operatives of the EFCC or men dressed like operatives of the EFCC have broken into have stormed places and arrested people. The last
A senator was picked up somewhere in the east, back up. Senator
so
and a former governor.
so in Akure sometime last week, 2 nightclubs were raided, 127 Nigerians were taken away. And this was in the night. Now, the bigger question is this. If the EFCC really wants to arrest Yahya Bello, they are more than equipped and capable of doing that. They are competent to do that. So to come out and complain on the pages of the media is what I don't understand. So when you complain to us, what do you want us to do?
But also, you want this allusion to the fact that it's the call EFCC. There seems to be a mole inside the EFCC frustrating this arrest.
So if there's a mole inside the EFCC frustrating the arrest, have they identified the mole or moles? If they have been identified or the person has been identified, what has happened since the identification? Has any further step been taken? If the answer is yes, fine. If the answer is no, why?
All right, we'll get more messages coming on 0809-444-0981. It's still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. You can catch a live stream on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM. Lagos, leave us a comment there. But I can't see any comment on the YouTube, but I see you guys are on there catching a live stream already. So let's go on to Ajayi Oluniluwa's thoughts this morning with a message here from GRA Sherry saying, the pocket of protest against bad governance and poor standard of living across the country yesterday is a note of warning to government to be alive to its responsibility. That's what you left us there. Next, we'll find Dada Oladimeji saying, it is not only Labour president that was there when the agreement was signed. Other men were there. It should have involved the professional negotiators to do it, but he may be afraid of what may come out of it. Shouldn't there be negotiators within the NLC? If all the medical doctors, Japa now to the medical doctors now, he says, who takes care of the others who needs medical attention? If the federal government is willing to take good care of the medical personnel, let them stay. So if they are not willing to take care of them, Dada Oladimeji, what should they do? Okay, let's go to Benga Akamu's thoughts this morning. Benga says the same fiber optics that the construction companies rip out when doing a road, the Solo to Jakonde Road is a good example. That's another thing. Again, it talks about how frustrating it can be. We see all of these cables being laid, but how soon can we get them to come into our living room that you just get access to the internet? Affordable and cheap. Let's go on to Anthony from Marine Beach says, I'm not sure Mr. C understood the message. Okay, it says the person did not say he supported shutting down the power grid or airports, but it's just if shutting down means sabotage, then we should all continue to suffer. That's what the wider implication. This is the wider implication of when, yes, there is the right to protest. But again, understand that there is also the right that some persons reserve the right not to be part of the protest and respect that.
Thomas, I'm a trained lawyer with over 20 years of experience. I can read the statement again and bring out the nonsense that was put there.
All right, so it goes on and says, I am not necessarily buying this opinion, but just to keep our discuss straight, Mr. C, who's making you angry this morning? Anyway, moving on to other matters, let's get on our papers this morning and to the next paper where we've got Benue State is in the news for this one, the Daily Trust newspaper. Governor Alia approves law stopping life pensions for Benue former governors and deputies. Would this bring more money to the coffers? And would that translate into the overall well-being of the state?
So these are completely different matters. But yes, it's a very good thing he stopped the law paying life pensions to ex-governors and the deputies. And this is something that a majority of Nigerians have been clamoring for across all the states of the Federation. Benue State is not particularly one of the richest states in Nigeria. And at any point in time, you would never classify them in, say, top 10 richest states. So it's a real mystery why they're paying life pensions to governors and former deputies. And it's a good thing this is stopped. Now, will this bring more money to the Treasury? Yes, it should, because the monies that should have gone out should stay. Will this translate to improved conditions of living for people in Benue State? That's a big question. If the money is properly utilized and appropriated and deployed, the answer should be yes. If it's not, well, tough.
Now that takes us to the Nation newspaper, where the headline screams government filmmakers partner on culture. How important is the arts as a vehicle to get messages across, such as culture and government initiatives? Seeing this story when you walk us through.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So it's very important that a people's cultural heritage is protected. And the great novelist Chinua Achebe said, if you don't like a story, write your own. So as a nation, we won't generations to come will not know what has transpired in the past if we do not preserve our heritage. And ways cultural heritage can be preserved, one in the form of songs, in the form of videos, in the form of stage plays, in the form of books. So it's gratifying to know that Lagos State has partnered with filmmakers and has unveiled a film, a historical play called Kurmi, and it speaks to Yoruba culture. It speaks to courage, wisdom, leadership, and this is gratifying. So apart from preserving cultural history, it also shows that it's trying to stimulate and encourage economic activity because as these sort of collaborations continue and increase, you then find that more people will come into that space. And then there are people who will be directly engaged by these collaborations. That means fresh income for the Lagos State government in terms of personal income tax. The businesses behind these collaborations will also pay some sort of entertainment levy or entertainment tax. And then it encourages more people to develop and hone their artistic and creative skills. So this is a win-win for Lagos. Kudos to Lagos State government, and more states should copy and adapt to the various environments what the Lagos State government is doing here.
And seeing what Afrobeats and what our young talents have done across the world, you would say it seemed like, but they starting very late with this, knowing the acceptance Afrobeats and how fast our culture has gone across the world.
Well, I'm not sure this is the very first collaboration, so I'm not sure we should say that this is very late. But whatever it is, at least they are maintaining a path, they are maintaining a position, they're maintaining a process, and this should continue irrespective of who occupies the office of executive governor of Lagos State. So yes, this should continue. And when we look at developed countries, we find that the artistic industries, to some extent, are supported by the government or departments specifically set up for that process, for that purpose.
All right, our final paper now. Let's just briefly touch on it. That's the Daily Trust newspaper. In two sentences, let's get through it. Lagos will replace 50% of public vehicles with that's electric vehicles by 2030. That's according to Governor Sanwo-Olu.
Okay, so very quickly, 2030, 6 years down the line. Now, 50% of public transportation vehicles, that's a, that's a very tall order because one, you have to consider the acquisition cost of the 50%. Two, you have to consider the cost of setting up the infrastructure that will be used to charge these vehicles. Three, we're not even given some sort of timeline as to the phases because I plan to drop all 15, 2030. Are you planning to phase it? So very big question. This is a very tall order, and I'll be happy to see Lagos State government succeed.
But again, let's factor in knowing that the current discussions we've gotten right now, we talk about the CNG, compressed natural gas, also coming on board because you look at the timeline.
No, but this
with
is
what I know, just with this already seeing it, and we're already in that direction. And even if you can get all that 50% in by 2030.
So that's why I would have liked to see milestones. Okay, the ultimate milestone is 50% by 2030. So what's the milestone for this year? Are you planning to get any in this year? How many are you planning to get in next year? Now with CNG, yes, we've had bold statements. However, how many petrol stations have been retrofitted to sort out CNG powered cars? I'm not sure there are many. And if they are, I'm not sure where they're located. If people know, please, they can send in the locations.
All right, that's how far we can go on Freshly Pressed this morning. I want to say thank you to everyone who sent in a message at this point. The headlines this morning simply touchy ones at some points, but we say all this, it's about we disagree, and at some point we'll find a way to converge and just get our points across as civil as possible. We say thank you to Damilola. Damilola sending the message. Adiremi Adeniro Olalekon, I see your message. You also sent the message. Tajuddin, thanks for the message. We also had a message from Dada Ladimeji. Ajayi from GRA Sherry also sent in Magodo. Benga Kamu sent in a message. Anthony Francis and Abbas Oladepo, we see your message also. Calm down. So we also see on our YouTube page Obiora Onyejekwe also going out to Mr. C. But then this is how we live it now. Thank you so much, Mr. C, for your time.
Thank you for having me.